Alex, why don't you go? Are you clicking record or am I?
I just clicked. It's supposed to show up in a second. Yep.
Awesome. Wonderful. Well, thank you everyone so much for joining us today. We're super excited to chat with you about reaching your healthcare frontline, integrating and automating processes in Microsoft Teams. Before we go over our agenda, I want to just quickly hand it over to Matt Sims from Microsoft, who's going to kind of kick us off and get started. And he has like 2 slides that we're going to go through, and then we'll jump into the agenda real quickly.
Thanks so much,
Matt,
Mark.
over to you.
Wonderful. Thanks so much. So I'm really happy to be participating in the webinar this afternoon, and pleased to be presenting alongside one of my favorite Microsoft partners, WM Reply. WM Reply has worked in several of my customers in unlocking the value of Microsoft Teams for our enterprise customers in the healthcare and life sciences vertical. Next slide, please, Margaret. And I just want to spend just a couple of minutes talking a bit about why the content in this webinar is so near and dear to my heart. And that's really what I'd like to focus in on is this analogy of Microsoft Teams really being like your smartphone. And Teams is like your smartphone in that there is a lot of utility and value in the out-of-box capabilities of Teams as a tool for communications and for collaboration. But you really start to unlock the real value of Teams when you integrate it with the other platform investments that your organization has made and the other tools that people require to get their jobs done, but bring all of that value in a consistent, curated environment. So similar to your home screen being the app experience that you curate for the tools and the services that you need in your personal life. Likewise, Microsoft Teams is that home screen to bring together all of the things and the services and apps that you need in order to get your job done at work and for your coworkers to get their jobs done. So I'm going to turn it back over to the WM Reply team. But again, I'm so thrilled to be contributing in some small way to the webinar today because they've done great work for my customers and are a trusted partner of Microsoft.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Matt. We're super excited to be here. Our agenda real quickly is just to do a quick intro into the Teams apps and Power Platform. And we're going to spend the bulk of our time looking at some demos. And so we've interviewed healthcare frontline workers, some nurses, and based off of those conversations, we've actually developed kind of an app to show around what we can do in empowering our frontline, especially in the healthcare space. And then we'll talk a little bit about governance and center of excellence, motivating adoption, and then we'll spend the rest of our time in an interactive Q&A. So we'll go through a couple of slides, demo, a couple more slides, and then into that interactive Q&A. So I just want to quickly introduce you to who's joining you today from WM Reply. So I'm Margaret Hahn. I'm a Senior Adoption Change Management Manager, so focused really on the people side of change. We're also joined by Will, who's a Microsoft 365 consultant. He's driving our deck today, and we'll also be doing some demos for you. And we're also joined by Alex, who's a Senior Microsoft 365 lead. So that's who is leading you through this afternoon. And let's jump into talking about Teams apps. So real quickly, we know that Teams is so much more than meetings and calls. It's all about integrating the work that you do and the apps that you use every day into this tool to be a hub and a dashboard and the place that you go to get your work done. So that foundation of the Microsoft 365 apps, all in Teams, and then bringing other processes in to streamline your business and get it all into Teams. So if we think about how to get started with integrating and automating with a Power Platform, there's so much that we can do. So today we're going to take a deeper dive into what some of these customizations and the art of the possible, what that looks like. So a lot of organizations have already invested a lot in Power Platform and a lot in 365. So thinking about the art of the possible is really where we want to get started. And it's more, like we said, it's Teams is chatting, meetings, and sharing files. It's really that hub where employees start and end their day. So what we do is help organizations think about all of the systems that they use every day. For example, ServiceNow, which is a third-party app that you can integrate and get into Teams. After you've looked through kind of integrating the systems that you use every day, you can also look at automating business processes. So we also help organizations improve and automate some of the things that maybe are done with paper and pen, or maybe something that's an Excel spreadsheet that takes a long time to do. All of that we can help kind of strategize and build a roadmap to get that into automated processes right within Teams. And then what we're going to show today is a customized employee experience. So thinking about that art of the possible, really customizing Teams to be a hub where people get work done, and using it in a custom way to make sure that people are starting their day, ending their day in Teams, and connecting, collaborating, and communicating with ease. So some of the things that we have done in the past and are currently doing with some of our clients is that we get a ton of questions around where to get started. And most of you probably know that Microsoft does an amazing job of providing various templates through GitHub that you can get started. And you could just use those out of the box. But then we also help organizations kind of take that to the next level and really think about the art of the possible, and then what's right for their organization, their culture, their wellness. And so we've come up with just a couple of examples of things that we'll spotlight today. We'll take a look at diving deeper into the Icebreaker Bot, which has been super popular with a lot of our clients, looking at facilitating those people-to-people connections that we're not getting now, but we got in the before times, before we were all fully remote. And so how do you create an environment online that allows people to connect and collaborate authentically? And we've been able to do that leveraging the Icebreaker template. Now, outside of culture and wellness, if we take a look at like communications, IT operations, there are lots of templates available there as well. One that we really like a lot and have worked a lot with customizations is the company Communicator. And that's a fantastic resource for communications teams, leadership teams, and so on, to push out communications through Teams and link to maybe a news post on your SharePoint Online intranet, to cut down on that email overload and connect with people where they work every day in that Teams hub. And then we'll also demo the FAQ bot, where you can integrate this directly into Teams. And this is a great opportunity. Let's say you're launching Yammer, for example, and you want people to learn more about it. You can use the FAQ bot to have people ask questions and learn more about a new rollout or a new change. And then if we look at like human resources, for example, there are templates out there around return to workplace, new employee onboarding. So there's tons and tons of opportunities to really customize Teams to bring all your processes there to save time, increase productivity, and enhance the employee experience. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to turn this over to Will, who's going to discuss a demo of specific examples of those customizations, and then dive deeper into that healthcare frontline worker app that we've created. Will?
Right. Thanks, Margaret. Are you guys able to hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
All
Awesome.
good.
Right. So as Margaret mentioned, I'll be doing a little closer look at some of the apps that she talked about, the plug and play apps, and then I'll be doing a few demos as well. First off, we have Company Communicator. As Margaret mentioned, it's a tool that you can use to efficiently, send out messages and announcements throughout your entire org or select groups, whatever it may be. But I'm sure all of us get hundreds of emails a day that get lost in the flow of things. And so this is just a really easy way, or a really efficient way to get a message across to, specific users in Microsoft Teams, which is a tool that, a collaborative tool that we all should be using. And so next we have FAQ Plus Bot. As Margaret mentioned, another use case for this is, let's say your company is looking to roll out Yammer. You can use this to kind of save on a lot of overhead costs, a lot of manpower resources in terms of IT troubleshooting, and you can populate the knowledge base with Q&A questions and answer pairs that can get answered via this intelligent chatbot that leverages AI and Microsoft Azure resources like Q&A Maker to essentially be able to answer any question that exists in the user base. And oftentimes what we do for clients, what we're actually doing for a client right now is, I don't know if you guys know of ServiceNow, but it's also another third-party app that has supported integration with Teams that we can basically use if let's say a user asks a question on the FAQ Plus bot, the answer pair doesn't exist, we can give them the option of going to the ServiceNow virtual agent, where the answer might exist in their knowledge base, or give the user an option to start a new ticket, or etc. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Alex, and he's going to talk a little bit about the Icebreaker Bot.
Thank you, Will. And so the Icebreaker Bot is a perfect example of the app that addresses culture and wellness in the organization for employees. It's a Teams bot that helps the whole teams, or it could be multiple teams, to get closer by pairing members of the team every week at random time to have this virtual meeting, virtual coffee breaks, lunches, or hopefully when we all get back to normal, in person, maybe lunch break or walk around the block. Bot is doing the heavy lifting. So it's doing this scheduling reminders and trying to pair those users at random. And there are multiple different use cases that we can envision. And currently we deploying this particular bot in 2 or 3 different clients at the same time. And they have different ideas what this bot's supposed to do. And what we do, we're trying to actually customize each version of this bot that fits customer needs. What one particular company has in mind, and maybe it's different from another company based on their culture. But regardless, it's a great tool to engage people, to let them talk and communicate outside of daily meetings that we have plenty of those. So it could be a nurse who is on a coffee break and she get matched up with someone from another shift that maybe she doesn't have time to interact, and she can easily, through the chat functionality of Teams, have quick conversation, or she got paired with maybe supervisor, and she can schedule actually informal meeting and chat with supervisor because she doesn't have ability to see him or her in a coffee room or somewhere else. So there are a lot of other cases. For example, we have large team. It's a knowledge-based worker who just joined large team of marketing group. There are 200 marketing people. We're definitely not going to have enough time to have formal introduction for every person, especially if we're all remote. This Icebreaker Bot will have this matching mechanism that will match this new employee with one of the existing co-workers, and they can schedule formal 10-15 minutes chat, and they can actually just introduce yourself and talk about their non-work related interests. And I'm gonna steal screen from you, Will, and I actually quickly demonstrate this particular app in a second, because right now Microsoft kicked me to re-authenticate my connection to the tenant. It's perfect timing, and I almost there. So let me steal this screen. So as you can see, I'm in a team, and every time when Icebreaker Bot gets added to the team, and it's literally 2-3 clicks, and team owner can add Icebreaker Bot to the team. We're going to talk about governance later, so people who IT administrators, they understand that it's not going to happen with just 1 or 2 clicks, but for the user, it's just 1 or 2 clicks. And the user can see this welcome message. They can take a tour. And again, it's all customizable. I mean, we can customize for different clients. We customize text, we customize images, we customize logo of the bot. We change the name because they came up with some creative name of the bot. So it's all possible and doable. And this is what we kind of want and help our customer to make that bot more personal. But it's just a greeting. But then when I'm in my chat experience, what I will see, I will have like every day or every week. Again, it's custom. We can decide on frequency, and it depends on the team size and how often we want to see messages. But I will get this kind of card that tells me that I was randomly matched with my coworker Anand, and it just gives me some of the ideas of the discussion. Again, completely customizable. We can even display if Anand or myself, we store our interest or our skills. We can actually display that additional information for users. And then I can just go do direct chat with Anand, which is just opens this direct chat. Or I can say, I'm going to propose a meeting. And what bot is doing is it actually trying to find the time for today that both Anand and we have in common, like empty spot. This is our test tenant. That's why we have plenty of empty slots available. But I can also say, I can propose time, and it's going to just create standard meeting. Or I can try to find if there is a busy calendar for both of us, Anand and myself. I can just go and pick another day and then check availability, then figure out if there are other time slots available, and schedule this particular meeting. And in 24 hours after meeting has been scheduled, I'll get notification from a bot asking me if meeting took place. I can reply if it was postponed or took place, and we kind of collect those analytics. So we're trying to actually get an idea about adoption of this bot. We can ask for feedback. Again, the There are a lot of creative ideas we can do around that bot because Microsoft gives us a starter kit, this template that we can fully customize, deploy to the client tenant, and actually implement through entire organization. So at this moment, I'm going to turn it over back to Will.
Yep. Thanks, Alex. I'm gonna go ahead and demo Vibo, which is our FAQ Plus bot. And as Alex has mentioned, the apps like FAQ Plus bot, Company Communicator, Icebreaker Bot, these are all templated apps that Microsoft has available on GitHub. Just a bit of configuring and deployment to the tenant. But back to the FAQ Plus bot, as you can see, this is an app on the team. On the left-hand side, you can see my rail. If I search for an application, I can find this. We've named it Vibo, and we've customized it to connect to a specific knowledge base with different Q&A questions. So some of the questions I prepared are CPR. So if I type in what are the steps for CPR, then the bot will intelligently find that Q&A, see if that Q&A pair exists in the knowledge base and gives me the answer. The bot is also intelligent to look for keywords in a sense. So if I just typed in CPR instead of what are the steps for CPR, I would get the same answer. And with this answer saying the major steps include actions before giving CPR and how to administer, see article, I could just click this article and it would tell me, the American Red Cross CPR steps. I could also ask an expert if if I don't like that answer too much, and I can connect with someone, on the other side, a designated specific group of maybe IT admins who can answer my question in more depth, or maybe if I'm not satisfied with this answer or I think that something's wrong, I can contact an expert this way as well. So on the other side, as I mentioned, the experts, we have Vibo experts, and I can see here someone had asked, where's the shin bone? So I can look at this request. I can chat with the one or the person who had sent the request to chat with an expert. I can chat with this individual via this button. I can change the status of the ticket, or I can view the article itself. So if we're going back to the slide, I just want to quickly talk about some things before we go into the actual healthcare demo. Sorry, be back. Okay, so what we're really good at, what we specialize here at WM Reply is really helping you understand what your business needs are and how to automate them or how to make your business more efficient. So something we do here is we hold discovery sessions and requirement sessions to really figure out your pain points, what the current status of your organization is, how are they working now, what can be improved, and really figure out what gaps there exist in the business workflow that need to be filled. So,
hey, Will,
yeah.
We aren't seeing the slides. We're still seeing Vibo.
Right. Sorry.
No worries.
I got a little bit ahead of myself. Okay. Can you guys see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. So yeah, just to reiterate, us here at WM Reply, what we do is we hold discovery sessions and requirement workshops to really figure out your business needs, what your pain points are, what gaps exist in the business process, what can be automated to kind of cut back on resources and save on costs. What is the current state of your organization? How are they working now? And again, how can we improve any areas, if at all? So with that being said, we did interview real nurses for this, and some of the common answers we got were, frontline nurses, they always want to be able to quickly get announcements from the hospital, maybe check the capacity of the beds, and so forth. So if you guys wouldn't bear with me, please, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my screen where I will share this app. So just to preface, what you guys are seeing is a mobile emulator on my device. It replicates sort of Teams on a mobile device. And I'm not sure if any of you are familiar, but this is, even though it's on a mobile device, it's still just Teams, and we've created a custom policy for specific users. As you can see, I'm logged in as Nurse Alex. We've applied a Teams policy for this user, and it decides what they will see on the rail. So on the rail, we've put activities so they can quickly see notifications. This person can still chat with their colleagues. The healthcare app, of course, Teams, and of course the Shifts app, which doesn't really seem to want to work right now, but I'll go ahead and come back to it, and hopefully it'll work later. I'll quickly show the demo app that we've mentioned. So again, if you can see here, what we can do is what is a possibility is using a geolocator, so that whenever the frontline worker opens the Teams on their mobile device and opens this app specifically, we can pin down the location using the location services on the device that the user is logging in from to pinpoint the hospital that they're working at and display the appropriate information. As you can see about the hospital, I can quickly get access to information like the hours of operation, the capacity of the beds, the capacity in the ICU, what % of patients are COVID related, and obviously if there are any emergencies, I can contact my supervisor, Susie's supervisor. I have her email and phone number here as well. And if I go to new supply request, I'm sure medical masks are a hot commodity right now, I'm sure. And via this app, we could theoretically request for more. I can request for masks, gloves, or syringes, or whatever it may be that I need more of. If I go over to maintenance requests, I can see sort of a list of equipments and devices that have been serviced recently or are scheduled to be serviced, and I can of course schedule a new maintenance request as well if I feel that a machine is being faulty or needs to be looked at. Let's say I'm a nurse and I'm filling. I swap shifts with another nurse at a different hospital, so this is my first time at the location. Again, my location is pinned down for me, so I can click the hospital map and maybe use it to get familiarized with my surroundings if this is my first day on the job, or maybe if I'm just a new employee. Then if we go over to my personal space, this is some more personal details. Again, hopefully I can show you guys shifts later, but this is pulling in from a shifts connector where it'll display the next shift that I have. It also displays the number of sick days, unpaid days, and the vacation days I have left, as that was also a highly requested feature from the nurses that we interviewed. Then we also have things like trainings and certifications, just another list where I can easily maintain and manage. I'm sure people in the health field have lots of certifications and licenses to maintain and make sure that aren't expired. So this is just you can imagine a lot of things could be put here. Like phlebotomy certs, or even just new employee onboarding, and just it'll keep track of when that was completed. Then we have things like My Perks. So if the hospital offers discounts anywhere, then we can quickly just tab over to this screen and get discount codes at Costco or Target or whatnot. So that, and again, even though this app looks fancy, it's really just Teams at its core. I'm able to do all the things that we still love and know about Teams. I'm able to change my status message. I'm able to set my status message to whatever I want it to be. Again, I can chat with my colleagues. I can check my notifications, which it looks like my manager's publishing work schedules and approving my time off requests, which hopefully I'll be able to show you if I click Teams. So Shifts doesn't want to seem to be working right now, but I did want to mention that there is support for Kronos. I know Kronos is a popular third-party platform in the healthcare industry, but with open source code, there are connectors that allow you to view schedule, publish and request open shifts, swap shifts, time off, etc., all that good stuff that is also available in Teams. And yeah, again, you can search for documents. The search functionality of Teams that we all use every day, I'm sure, is still available as well. I can search for files, I can search for messages, and etc. Okay, maybe we can come back to this one, but actually, before I move on, I just want to do a quick pulse check. Are there any questions about any of the stuff that we've seen up till now, or this demo?
I had a couple, just a quick question here.
Yep.
The structure of the app that you showed,
Mm-hmm.
it looks like it's a Power App.
Yep.
What sort of things, can you be drawing from in the Power App? Like if we, most of my customers have solutions like Kronos and various other business platforms that they've got long-standing investments in. And so can you help me understand how they would link up something like this? Like, is it a front end that they would be able to link to various platforms on the back end? How would that work? Because it looks like a really cool app interface, but I know that the prospects of replacing systems like a benefit system or a training and certification system or a learning management system, it's a non-starter at a lot of my customers. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So yes, you're correct. We are kind of being able to pull data via Power Platform. There are hundreds of available connectors. Off the top of my head, I can't tell you, if you gave me a platform, I can't tell you off the top of my head whether or not it's supported by Power Platform. But if it is, then yes, it is very easy to, I wouldn't say very easy, but it's relatively simple to be able to pull in that data from a data source, let's say, and be able to modify it and display it in the way that you want using Power Apps. And as you can see here, we've deployed it and embedded it within Teams so that the end user doesn't ever have to shift away from this app to get things done.
Yeah, and I can just add to what Will said. Absolutely correct. Matt, with recent changes that Microsoft actually introduced end of last year, so now the connectivity between Power Apps and APIs became much easier to implement, because now with API management system that you can deploy in your Azure tenant, you can on the back end you have this handshake between your third-party app and your API management system, where you kind of build your APIs, you do the authentication, all the heavy lifting, and then your Power App actually talking to API management, which is much easier flow of implementation. And that's what actually Microsoft wants to do, because in this case, they kind of close this loop between citizen developers and pro developers, because your pro developer will build your API, will implement this stuff in Azure API, Azure management in Azure, and then just expose this endpoint connector to citizen developer who is driving a Power App, and that connector will be able to be used by citizen developer in the Power App and will be represented. The endpoint is going to be Teams.
Understood. So if I understand that right, what that would enable me to do is have build a custom connector for the Power Platform that can be, so the citizen developers at my customers can use low code, no code interfaces for building apps in the same way they would with the out of box Microsoft ones, but those the interaction to the custom line of business applications or platforms that my customers have, the pro developers would deal with the interactions between those custom line of business applications and the API management stack in the cloud.
Absolutely, yeah.
And cool.
That's actually this whole model Microsoft introduced last year, I think during the Inspire, where they want to have the cycle between pro developer and citizen developer, and that the important part that your pro developer creates one API, one connector to your business line application, but then multiple citizen developers, based on what applications they actually building, they can actually leverage that one connector to this line of business application. And because it's built by the organization, so it has been built with the security. So it's not like you bind third-party connectors that you don't even know is it properly authenticated or does it have proper authorization. I mean, everything still runs kind of in your environment, in your tenant.
Very cool. Very cool. Thank you for explaining.
Sure.
So I was able to get the shifts running. So I'll just quickly be able to talk about it. I had a whole story plan, but if you guys could help me imagine, I'm a nurse. I wake up in the morning and I can open my Teams app, go to the shifts tab, and I can look at my shifts today. I can click on open shifts. Maybe I want to pick up a few extra shifts. I could easily do that here. I could click on this one, request it, and so forth. If I wanted to look at all my shifts, I could click on my shifts here and look at them. If I wanted to request time off, I could do that in this app as well. I would just create a request for either swapping a shift that I already have or request time off. Let's say I want to plan for a vacation, then I can just select here vacation. I can give my reason and select the time and date, and I would just send that request through, and that would go to my manager who would be able to approve or reject that. And if I go over to the completed tab, I can look at all my previous time off requests that I've sent in. Of course, all of them were approved, and so I'm notified this way as well. Another neat feature is the clock-in feature. So let's say I finally arrive to the hospital, I can hold down this button for shift, and it will pin down my location. And when I started the shift, say I'm on lunch break now, I need to take a lunch break, I could do that here. Take a break, it would, and then when my break is over, open the app up, end my break, and let's skip over to the end of our shift now. Let's say I'm clocking out, and if there are any inconsistencies in the time, maybe my break was actually 5 minutes longer than I had reported, or it was 5 minutes shorter, whichever it may be, I can go ahead and edit that time and submit it, and this it'll show you the entire week of all the shifts that you worked, so that you can kind of confirm your timesheet for the week. And again, this is all beautifully synchronized across other Office 365 apps, as you guys have seen in the Power Apps. So you can see this is, we currently only display the next shift and the days off, but there's so many, I just want to put it out there that there's a lot of things that you can do inside Teams. Okay, so with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and pass it back over to Alex, who's going to talk about some Power Platform and governance. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen again. Yeah.
Thanks, Will. So I'm going to take very few moments of your time to talk about governance because it's not very exciting topic. I know demos much more exciting, and because it actually tells you about user stories, and governance doesn't. But I know probably people like Joel or someone else who is in IT administration would want to hear some of the governance challenges that we're facing with many of our clients. So when we talk about Teams as a platform and governance, there are multiple areas of interest. So you have your Teams governance by itself. That's your sensitivity labels, your retention policy, your DLP policy, your Microsoft 365 group policies. Then you have actual Teams apps governance. It's your permission policies, setup policies, app management policies. So today, I'm not going to talk about any of that stuff because I actually want to talk about Power Platform and Power Platform governance. As we know, more and more organizations are transforming their business into the cloud, and they're making those steps to modernize their legacy enterprise application by replacing them with modern enterprise-grade solutions. And they're trying to bring some of the rogue IT application or some other shadow processes that run on the background to the enterprise level and making sure that we taking full advantages of the platform. An organization trying to empower citizen developers to connect siloed data, engage with the customers, and obviously drive return on investment with robust solution using Power Platform. We all know that power of Power Platform, but with great power comes great responsibility. It's very important to identify and understand what users in the organization are capable of actually building with Power Platform. And also it's important to determine how much empowerment we actually want to provide to our citizen developers. Organizations want to build a solid foundation for success. And it's important to understand and implement governance structure that ensure that those powerful tools that we're trying to use actually compliant, secure, and organization feels and achieves their objectives. Next slide, please. So when we talk about different components of governance, there are multiple steps, and one of the most important steps is the security. And when we discuss security, there are a few things come to mind, again, on the Power Platform side. It's a strategy for environment. There are different types of environments, and what you need to understand what environment to use for which applications that you build in. And you need to kind of empower your users with this knowledge, so the next time when they're trying to build specific application, they use right environment. We've seen tons of customers where everything gets built in a default environment, which is absolutely madness when you have 20, 30 developers trying to build everything in one environment. You have this mess. You have no idea who is sharing what connectors. So the first thing that you need to address is a environment strategy, understanding what type of environments to use, in what cases. If you have business critical application that a lot of users rely on, you probably need to have 3 different environments provisioned for this application. So you later on, you will be able to implement full application lifecycle management with deployment strategy. So it's critical and important to understand environments and how they will be used in the application and how you can guideline your users with their journey in Power Platform. Data loss prevention policy, it's a guardrails to protect information security in a tenant. And those guardrails, they actually help to prevent users from unintentionally exposing some organizational data. Those policies, they get enforced with different connectors. And what you want to do, you want to kind of create those policies per each environment, that you know that each environment has this protection level. DLP policy should be one of the first things that any Power Platform administrator should consider, because again, data security is very, very important to all of us. And quickly, like Microsoft recently introduced a new Dlp Granular Approach, so you can actually have action level DLP policies. So you can allow, for example, read from a Twitter post, but you can prevent users to actually using connector to post tweets. And next slide, please. I'm going to skip security because security it's a multiple levels of AD security, environment security, like I mentioned, and application security. But I want to talk a little bit about Center of Excellence. It's a lot of different components go to Center of Excellence. One of the things that Microsoft create is this starter kit that we're trying to use. And it's a very powerful tool. We're trying to deploy it and helping with a lot of clients because it allows IT administrators to manage environment, manage platform, and monitor it, and actually make a proactive decision about the platform. There are tons of other stuff that we can discuss about Power Platform governance, but I still want to turn it over to Margaret because she wants to tell you about very important ACM component.
Thanks, Alex. Yeah, there's so much that we can talk about with Center of Excellence and governance and all of that. So we want to make sure that we are leaving enough time for questions, and then we'll also share out the slide deck afterwards. And there's a lot of information in there. So we're always here to help. So I just want to kind of wrap up in talking about adoption and change management. So this is something that's near and dear to my heart. I think of myself as like a people advocate in IT. And so whenever we're rolling anything out, whether it's a custom application like what we're looking at here, which is something similar to the healthcare app we were showing earlier, we did this app for Go Ahead London, and this was a custom Teams kind of skin geared towards drivers to be able to connect quickly with information and then connect with other drivers and kind of just be able to get on the go and access what they needed in Teams right away. So we created this custom app, but if nobody uses it, does the app really matter? And so, Will, if you can go to the next slide, we thought about an entire cohesive campaign for driving adoption and motivating people to make the change to really embrace using these new tools. So looking at that, at connecting into the use cases, creating a comprehensive communications campaign, how-to videos, commercials, training sessions, all of that. And our goal is to create really engaging campaigns that get people excited to make a change, because we know sometimes change can be a challenge and difficult. Will, if you go one more slide. Awesome. So I just want to wrap up with the idea that we think that it's so cool, all the things that you can do with Microsoft, but on top of that, it's about getting excited and motivated to embrace that change and start doing things a little bit differently. And so one thing we do really, really well at WM Reply is looking at achieving that Microsoft 365 adoption and creating really engaging, interesting, eye-catching, well-designed, yada, yada, yada campaigns. And I like to show this one. We have a commercial and a whole use case and user story around this particular example that we're looking at here, which is all about superheroes and supercharging adoption. And so whenever we do anything, we think it's so important to have adoption wrapped around it to get people to use the tools that we've invested in. So I want to make sure that we have enough time to open it up for questions. And so if you want, you can either raise your hand, unmute yourself, or type something into the chat, and we are here to answer any questions you may have. Or if people want to see the adoption change management commercial, I can also bring that up.
Yeah, this is Joel.
Hi, Joel.
The Shifts app that you showed, so that's basically just a customization of the existing Shifts app, right? And then I assume you could connect that on the back end to Kronos and whatever else is possible.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Absolutely, yes. And what Will showed and Shift, it's pretty much out of the box. What custom in the solution that Will was showing, the Power app that we had when he was showing my personal space, it actually was reading data from Shifts, so that there is a connector that we used. But we have also a couple other clients where we use Shifts in a different settings where we didn't have opportunity to use connector. We actually use directly APIs from Shifts to retrieve data. So, and there are different ways of actually, there is a Shift when you pull data, different set of APIs, and there is APIs to actually pull data back to Shifts. but we will, and we can actually connect it to Kronos as well because those APIs available to us.
In your, I'll tell you from my perspective, I think that, you know, the idea, as you said, like the boring idea of governance, is a real challenge for us to try to figure out, you know, okay, Microsoft releases something out into the wild. Now, you know, we have to try to lock it down for a little while or something before something dangerous happens, you know, and, you know, you've got these citizen developers, they create some app you didn't know they created that is tied to an important business, you know, workflow, and then they leave, and now, you know, an entire group of people is reliant on some app that you never even knew existed. So what sort of work do you do on that front? Do you come in, is that something that you do, come into an organization and sort of help with that piece?
Yes, it's one of the, I mean, not one of the things, but many things. And Joel, you're not alone. Don't worry. There are plenty of crying IT admins that I talk every day, and they complain about different issues with the teams getting out of hand. That people create teams left and right, and they have no governance, no classification. People leave the company, and they have orphan teams. And on the Power Platform side, similar, someone created the app, no one knows about this app, then someone left the company, so people have no idea why this app was created, but in the meanwhile, 20, 30 people using this app. So yes, and yes, and yes. So for overall Teams platform, we have a solution, Compliance Hub, that we deploy to our customers where we will give like IT pros holistic view on the entire environment. So that's kind of all the Teams platform, your Yammer groups, your SharePoint site, your Teams, your Microsoft 365 groups. That's one solution. Then on a Power Platform side, there is definitely COE kit. So Microsoft actually, what I've seen, made a lot of investment. They actually brought up Power Platform administration portal up to speed, because originally they released COE kit because they were not able to put it inside the product, and they gave people COE kit so they can install. It's still app that's running, and you can actually get a lot of monitoring and a lot of value out of the COE kit. Now Microsoft shifting some of that functionality inside the product. COE kit is still very important because you need to nurture your developers. You need to, every time when someone joins and creates new Power App, you want to send them friendly email telling them, you know what, welcome to the team. We are happy that you experimenting with your Power Apps. And by the way, there are like 5 steps that we want you to actually follow, because it's a best practice. And if you don't follow, we're going to delete your app, or we're going to remove your access to this environment. So that kind of approach that we want to build in a Power Platform governance, we can do it through extension. COE kit could be extended, but it's a much broader approach, and it's different clients in different place in their journey. Like we have one client where they have it in Europe. They have more than 100 citizen developers, and they fully invested in the platform. And they have monthly webinars, like internal for citizen developers. They build components. Like one citizen developer build one component that does X, Y, and Z, and then they share this component, and then all other citizen developers, they actually reuse. So it brings the efficiency and certain way of organizing your citizen developers. So what we do, we come in, we first start with this assessment, then we come up with a strategy, what fits your particular organization. And then we try to drive that adoption with adoption campaigns, but also building those tools in place that monitor alerting, security, and governance.
Great, thank you.
It's a long answer for short question, but I know your pain, Joe.
Well, wonderful. I want to be super cognizant of people's time and just want to thank everyone so much for coming today. If you have questions, you want to chat about this further, you can always reach out to me, Alex, or Will, and we'll share out the deck so you can dive deeper into some of the information we have in there. We'll send that as a follow-up, and we'll also send you a recording. And so really grateful for all of your time today, and we're here if you have any questions or want to explore anything further.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
And I want to thank Matt Sims for helping us with this webinar, for his constant support and sponsorship. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your
Matt.
partnership, Matt.
My pleasure. Have a good one.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, this
Thank
was great,
you.
guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Bye.
It was nice meeting you all. Bye-bye. Cheers.
Thanks.